Thank you. Senator Smith, Senator Blumenthal, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for being here, and thank you for your service to our nation. There have been reports as recently as this morning about a potential progress in discussions with Saudi Arabia about a pact that, in effect, could lead to normalizing relations with Israel. Those discussions, I'm aware, were underway before the October 7th attack with great promise. Could you update us as to what you know about those discussions and whether an agreement with Saudi Arabia directly without involving Israel in the first stage is possible at this point?
Thank you, Senator. I couldn't, the intelligence community is not involved in those discussions, and but I'm happy to defer that, obviously, and we can get you an answer from the policy community.
Thank you. On Iran, I am somewhat perplexed about what you say in your report. Iran is currently not undertaking the key nuclear weapons development activities necessary to produce a testable nuclear device. But then you say Iran continues to increase the size and enrichment level of its uranium stockpile and so forth. Isn't Iran continuing to take steps that would put it in a position to have nuclear arms?
Yeah, I think we can probably talk about this more in closed session, but I think the distinction that's being made in the report in that particular scenario is basically to say that what they're doing is shortening the time period that it would take for them to actually, for example, enrich a sufficient amount of material for a nuclear weapon if they make a decision to move forward on it, as opposed to actually having made a decision to move forward on it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
And I guess that leads to the next question, which is what is the time period now that they have shortened to?
Yeah, I think we can discuss this in closed session and further.
Okay. Could you talk a little bit about efforts to free Evan Gershkovich, the Wall Street Journal reporter currently imprisoned in Russia? Are we making any progress there?
Again, sir, we are working on that. I think we can discuss that in closed session, and yeah.
Which leads to my next question. There's a lot of public interest in it, and I've long felt that there's overclassification of information. As you know, the present system dates from, I think it's Harry Truman, executive orders in terms of classifications of different materials are, in my view, very antiquated. I've been to countless classified briefings in the SCIF, and I've read about them the next day or the previous day in the New York Times or wherever. Aren't we overclassifying information? Shouldn't we be disclosing more of it? What I find, and I say it in these briefings, our adversaries know what you're telling us about them. We know, our adversaries know all about it. They know we know. The only people who don't know are the American people. Aren't we overclassifying?
Yes, I've been very public in saying that overclassification is an issue, and it's one that we're working quite hard on. It is not going to be solved in the, quickly, because it is actually there are a lot of institutional issues that are at stake and challenging. And one of the things that we're doing, for example, is related to the fact that we recognize we produce an enormous amount of information. Some of it gets declassified over time. It is necessary for us to get that information out. We are trying to use technology in a more productive way to actually ensure that we are doing this at a more rapid rate. And we've had some progress on this, and there's actually money in our current budget proposals to try to increase the amount of technology and work that we can do in this area to ensure that we're pushing out information that should be pushed out. We are working with our FOIA officers to basically ensure that they are better staffed, that they're in a position to be able to do more work more quickly, prioritize what is of the highest public interest. We are working through trying to ensure that we actually incentivize to the greatest extent possible accurately classifying things, not over-classifying things, et cetera. So I'm happy to share we've got a lot of lines of effort, frankly, on this issue to try to improve the situation.
Well, just one last quick question on Evan Gershkovich. Are we making progress or not?
I honestly, this is not an area where I am involved in the specific talks, and I would rather, leave that to others.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Senator Budd, please.
Thank you, Chairman.